It's my pleasure this afternoon to welcome Mart Postma, who is an alum of the university. Mart graduated, I mean, he's only 23, I believe. Right, Mart? You wrote here?
I guess it is.
Yeah, so
15 years ago.
quite a while ago, with an undergraduate degree in business, but he's had a fantastic career since leaving Bradford, with various big names, including Heineken. It was for a long time, wasn't it? No, Heineken, Meta, and various other tech scale businesses. So fantastic wealth of experience Mark's got, and as you can see from the welcome slide, he's going to talk about the ways in which Mark has managed to supercharge his own career and make that in a sustainable way. And so we're going to have this little chat about that, about his experiences, and hopefully what you might learn from his experiences. So, welcome, Martin. It's good to see you. Good that you've been good enough to make the effort to travel. I know it doesn't take you long in the end, but it's still, the velocity is still a mental barrier. So, tell us a bit about your career to date, and how Bradford helped with that, how your experiences have sort of shaped your career over the past 15 years.
Sure, thanks. Thanks for inviting me here. So it was actually 15 years ago I joined the Bradford School of Management in the old building, which was Sustainably, to study a master's in marketing management for a year here at University of Bradford in Bradford. And it's been a great experience because, like, a couple of elements I joined Bradford because, first of all, there's a huge diversity of people at the university. People all the way from Taiwan to Brazil actually joined our program. But also it's a university which has a real good connection with the alumni and the people in business, basically. So it connects well with, like, why you joined that education to actually supercharge your career, to name the title session.
Should apologise first, I downgraded you from masters to graduate there.
Well, before the masters, I did the undergraduate.
Here as well.
Actually, not here, but in Amsterdam. That's where my accent comes from. But yeah, so after I graduated on this stage, actually, this hall, in 2010, and worked there in various roles throughout the first couple of roles in my career. Trade marketing, sales management, regional manager, then moved over to the Netherlands where the head office is based to join as a brand manager. It's Heineken is very marketing driven company. So I really wanted to move my career from the start, and it was also why I joined the masters in marketing to join and supercharge my career into an international market.
Right.
Since then, after I joined Facebook for a couple of years, after Meta, so Facebook, also in various international marketing roles.
Brilliant. So you touched on diversity as one of these areas that's helped you to supercharge your career, to build a sustainable career path. Could you say a little bit more about that, and maybe if there are any other skills that you think were instrumental in allowing you to have a, you know, a rapid rise to success and retain, you know, and be employed, you know,
Okay, still point.
yeah.
Okay. There's basically three elements if I think about this question. There's one which is like there's a lot of teamwork projects during the curriculum, the school of management, which helps to in basic life. Teamwork is very important, obviously. The second one is the diversity element of all the different students you have to work with in those different assignments, and the different cultures you have to learn about, the different behaviors of people during an assignment. How do they work together? How do they work on deadlines and stuff? And every culture that's a bit different. And the third one is what really helped with the course was like the strategic thinking and the data-driven approach that you learn if you study like a master's or an MBA. And that really helped.
So, you know, it's interesting from my perspective, because I shared with one or two members of the group today that teamwork in particular seems to suffer when we use AI. People's willingness to take part in what they call pro-social behaviour goes down if they think AI is being used to manage them. I found it sort of reassuring in some ways that, you know, there's still something that humans can do better and offer that AI can't. Do you think AI is going to, you know, how should we be using AI to enhance teamwork? Do you think there's a role there in education?
Well, in education, there certainly is. And I think that in your career, what's really important and what you also teach us during the masters is you learn hard skills, which is basically the knowledge and the knowledge, the research you're studying, etc., but also the soft skills. And with the rise and with what AI brings us, it's actually the soft skills are way more important because you have to work with technically, you have to interpret the data, you have to understand how it's actually developed. And you have to work together with a lot of different people. During teamwork, you develop, especially during teamwork, you develop your soft skills really well. And it's a skill which is, I believe, really getting more and more important in the different roles.
Right answer.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay, so sustainability then. How's this? It's a buzzword. It's very topical. You know, how does this feed into the sort of career landscape, career development landscape? What we should be looking for from a sustainable career growth perspective? How's it fit?
Well, to me, is like building a sustainable career is like focusing on the end goal. Basically, what do you want to learn and where do you want to go in the next like 10 years? And how do you get there? What's the goal there? And sustainable means that you're working towards that goal. So if you look back at your career, maybe in the moment, and that's the interesting thing, if you look at your career maybe now, you think like, where I'm going and what this actually brings me, why this is the right next step if I interview for the next role. But then in the end, it all fits together. If you were focusing still on like, hey, I want to learn, I went to Bradford also for strategic marketing knowledge, for the soft skills, for like working in an international environment. Without, I would have never got a job at Heineken in London if I've never lived in the UK. That it was for a company way to take of the risk. I have not a marketing background, but I studied business administration as a bachelor. And I've never lived in the UK. So without Bradford, I would never have started my career in London and Heineken. And that actually really, that step next to that role, that really helped for the next role. And as to my experience in Heineken in different countries, I could was successful in a role for Facebook, which was the next step. And without Heineken, probably that wouldn't get an interview there, you know.
So it's developing this portfolio of skills, portfolio of experience.
And one story, it's also about storytelling. So it's about storytelling where you want to get and why you made certain decisions in your career to get there. And sometimes I see people line managing in my team who are very, they want to move quick and they want to, you know, they move to different companies all the time. They have a CV which has like 18 months here, 16 months there, and, you know, and they want to progress. But actually, that's not what I see as a hiring manager as a sustainable career, because there's just job hopping every time for, oh, I want it, the grass is greener at the neighbors, so I'm going to move there. It's not about sustainability. It's about like where you'd like to go, and can you still develop in that way?
So not sustainability, perhaps in the more traditional sense, more sustainability in terms of a career progression, facilitating. So those are some of the things that have helped you to sustain your own career development. Can you give us some insights from your experience into some of the things that, some of the truths and myths, if you like, about the corporate world? What works, what doesn't work, what is the, I mean, I guess there is no single best way to progress up the corporate ladder, but you know, what seems to work, what doesn't?
I wish that it's an ongoing question, right? I wish I had the answer when I started 15 years ago. Well, every company is different. I think first of all, what you're saying as well. But also, I think it's about there's two elements here. There's also here again hard skills and soft skills. There's an element of like delivering against the goals of the company. Really understand if you want to progress in a company, make promotions and move up the corporate ladder. And it's really understanding the KPIs of the whole organization, your manager, what is his or her KPI, and your role into that. If you can be very clear in what you need to deliver, basically. I always use, to my teams, I always use the 80-20 rule, which means that like 80% of your time and work, you have to focus on those core KPIs. Normally there are a maximum of 3, which really matters. And the 20% is like stuff which is, you know, comes out. Yes, we need to do, it's not super urgent, it's super important, but it's actually good if you do that job as well. So that comes into the bucket of 20%. So my team basically work on Monday to Thursday, and they work on the 3 core KPIs, and then all stuff which like from other departments, and maybe the marketing department, and then often different sales managers, salespeople come with different, not super important stuff. I mean, we have a new sales manager now, and then she walks into her into my office and bothers my team all the time with like, hey, can I get stickers from the logo of the company, which I can then add to my computer, my laptop, because if I'm with a client, they see that I'm actually working for this company. And then, you know, I think like, hey, this is your second week into this company. This should qualify your as a sales manager to ask for stickers. And so she's basically on the hit list of my team. They don't like looking very much. But like, this is the second time already she walked into my office asking, hey, what's the object on the stickers? And this is clearly like into the 20% bucket, which is not important. We're gonna follow up on it whenever we have time for it, but not today. So somewhere in a moment where we have time, we will look at stickers, but like, come on, focus on your real priority.
So I think there's 2 things there are. One is learn to prioritize, not just yourself, but also for your organization, thinking about the priorities of your manager, and presumably there.
Me as a manager,
Yeah.
I have a call with you with the people in my team, and they tell me after 6 months into the year, like, I've been very busy this year because I made some stickers. Then you're not up for promotion, right? I mean, that's not core priorities we discussed at the beginning of the year. And then the second element to that question, because that's an important element as well, and actually that's going wrong often sometimes as well, is behavior into the call. So it's focusing on the results for yourself, for your manager, for your organization, driving that 80% result. But then also the way you work with other people. Are you curious? Are you taking initiative? Do you listen to feedback? Do you work well with different stakeholders, with your team? Because if you're just, a difficult person to work with, basically, very individual, and only focusing on your own goal, then you won't go. I mean, at least not in my time. And I think any different.
Well, I think the other point for me that came out of that, and it resonates certainly with my own career, such as it is, stroke was his first impressions. I've gone into organisations and, shall I say, being myself a little bit too early, and that can be abrasive. So to give some thought to the impression that you're presenting in those first few weeks is really.
That's also about sustainability, right? What is the image you actually want to bring across in the organization about you? So just be aware of it.
So given we've got, started to identify a range of skills, quite an extensive range of skills and talents. Is the battle for talent still on? Are we able to be more selective again, compared to a year or so ago, 18 months when the labour market was really tight, really difficult to employ good people?
Like the better talent in terms of like from an employer point of view, like hiring people talent into your organization, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's still ongoing pretty hard, especially there's a lot of competition, but also there's an element of people who graduated and are available in the job market are getting more and more specific about where they would like to work, like the purpose-driven company is something like, I want to add value, not only work 9 to 5. And in the Netherlands, we have a term which called the bullshit jobs. There's a whole campaign about bullshit jobs. It's basically like 20% of people in corporate world have a job, which has no value, which is like you're basically transferring air, if you translate it into that. There's no purpose, there's not something doing good for the world, for the people around you. And as a good change, I think it's that where people are more aware if they look for employment for a new job opportunity, it's like, what is the purpose of the company and what actually can I add to that? Are we doing well for the world? In advertising, for example, there's many people who don't want to work on fossil fuel brands anymore. Like think about creatives for campaigns for Shell, for example. They just don't want to work there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's really a refreshing shift in many ways.
And it makes it harder for the war on talent, obviously, because there's other elements, which is like where you really review that employer. Okay, is he doing well? Is he like, can I really learn here something? Do I get paid well? But also another element which really was on the rise in the last couple of years since COVID is there like a flexible work element? Or do you want me to get into the office 5 days a week? Because that's often also an element like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Some people are requesting like full-time remote, which is, well, can have another whole discussion if that's valuable, but maybe not for now. But like there's so many new elements which came into like the criteria of selecting an employer. If I look at when I looked at my first job after graduating, then some elements of remote working was never in my dictionary to look at a company if there was an element of remote working. Now, I never thought about that, you know. Or like purpose driven, really like even going to the world was also a bit different at that time. And that changed. I think that's a good thing for society, for the environment. But also that's more criteria. And so the war of talent only gets people work difficult. So yeah.
Great point, thank you. Okay, so the last question from me before we go to the audience. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for people to build their talents, their skills for a sustainable career from now on? Where are the opportunities?
From the moment you graduate at the stage, right?
Yeah.
Where you want to go.
Exactly.
So what really helps for me, and I do that every other year, is just, have a conversation with yourself or with mentor or coach or stuff to reflect on the criteria you have in your career to see where you want to go. Surprisingly enough, actually, when I did this last year, it hasn't changed over the last 15 years. The elements are now or less still the same. But actually, if you're in that frame of building that career, you don't know that. Only if you look back and think, hey, it actually makes sense. So there, I'm actually very happy that I was rejected for that job opportunity there, because actually this opportunity, which came like 4 months later, was actually way better for my career. So it's about like know how we started this conversation, but know what your end goal is, where would you like to develop yourself in, and then focus on what company fits my goal, where can I learn a lot, and where can I progress, and where can I really add value.
So that
Don't settle for less. That's all my thing. Don't settle for less. It's just like if there's a job interview and you're just really like a job now because it's just it's way too long. Hey, I graduated already for months and I don't have the pressure is wrong. You're just gonna start making bad decisions on you. It's just focus on the end goal. Don't settle.
That reflection, even if you're mid-career, you're already on that ladder.
Just take the risk and just wait for the next opportunity. Because otherwise you're going to make in stress periods, you're going to make decisions where you think like, hey, this is like, I'm going off track. And no, focus.
That's interesting. The sort of self-reflection piece, but also you mentioned about coaching. There's an opportunity there to use some coaching.
It could be professional coaching. It could also be conversations with friends, with family, parents, whoever who can really advise you on what works for you. A friend of mine actually sent me here to Bradford. Yeah. He actually, I was first initially considering like doing a course full-time English in the UK, and it was like we were sitting in a cafe bar in Amsterdam, 16 years ago, where he actually said, "Oh, that's going to be so boring for you, just studying English full time. You should just study in England, but some subject which you really are interested in, and you will learn to improve English along the way." Well, thanks for that advice, and that I'm still talking often about like career, but my mother was not that happy with his advice. For a full year before I went to the London and came here. But he still makes it at the birthday parties. He still makes jokes with my mom about it. I think I'm standing here. And now it was a good advice.
Brilliant. Mark, thanks so much for that. It's been really insightful. Any questions from the audience? Anything you want to ask about? Maybe moving your career to the next level? Those of you that are, maybe at the stage where you're ready to go to senior management, maybe you're there, maybe you're wondering about the move to self-employment, anything that we might want to discuss with Matt and Mart. Sorry, I keep calling you Matt.
Questions you may also.
Yeah.
Can I just reiterate? I feel.
We know each other for 15 years in the end.
Just what you're saying. I remember when we talked about that in careers workshops about your ideal role, and it wasn't just about the job title and a big salary. It was about travel, all different kinds of things. And what I always used to say to students, which they all used to go, "Oh, you don't have to accept the first job you're offered, not if it's not the right one." And I'm just pleased that you're still using that ideal role and expanded on that, 15 years later, because that is managing your career. And that's the other thing I say to everybody is the only person responsible for your career is you. Because your HR manager has put you on an MBA or knows you on an MBA and thinks they've done their job. So be in control. And you've done that, so I'm very proud of you.
If I can that, also being on the other side of the table, it's not always easy decisions, because when you have a family to provide for and you're out of a job for a couple of months and you're still waiting for the right opportunity, that can also cause stress, and it can also cause difficulty in the conversations with your partner. And then to be persistent and to be really so focused on that view and that vision that you have for yourself really takes a lot of guts.
What's your view on if you're in a corporate world, how long you should spend in one position? Do you have any kind of view as to what the optimum looks like, or is it contextual depending on the situation? Or what's your thoughts on that?
You're right. At Heineken, they were really restricted to this. So it was basically you couldn't move roles. You couldn't start even conversations with other managers within 2 years of the role. But you had to do roles. If you were in the like commercial trainee and it was in this like young talent programs and stuff, you basically had to move every 3 years. And so if there was a point always in your career, like after 2.5 years, you should like start talking to other people, explore like what is next. What's up into the corporate ladder, and then where would I like to go? And then it was a combination of results, but also like the soft skills was a very important element in that company, where they reviewed like, okay, mostly the roles actually before they were, that somebody was going and got promoted. There was job opportunity, which was the level next to your role, behind you, up to you. Then you already knew into the department, okay, probably he or she will get asked to apply for that role because he's up for the next stage. It never happened after about 2 years. It was just too early because you need at least like 9 months, a year to really get into it, to really understand the business, to really drive, make impact. And then you need another year to harvest basically the results. So a minimum of 2.5 years into it.
Question.
And then there's also other companies, like when I worked at Facebook, which I found very interesting there, is that you could actually get promoted in your role without that your role changes. So there's like different roles which different levels in. You could still, people are 8 years into the same role. It looks like it if you look at the CV, but actually they got promoted 3 times into the period. And their pay rise significantly, and but their title was still the same. They still were doing the same job. They really were looking at that. The philosophy of that company was like, let them stay in their role and let them develop into that role. It's different.
And how was the task changing as they progressed up that?
Or maybe only like the accounts did enough, right? So you start as an account manager, for example. If you're in sales department, you got to look after 3 mid-size advertisers, and then you get basically 1 big client, like you look after the account manager after 9 well,
Bit like a bank.
Yeah.
Visitors.
yeah. But the element of like moving and getting promotions in your role, I found very interesting because I've never seen that at other companies as well.
Right. Yes.
Talking about supercharging careers, where do you get further information, further input? Do you go to professional institutes? Do you come to the universities? Where do you get this external thoughts and views?
Normally, I like to talk to a lot of people, so just to like learn from like-minded people, basically, or in your industry or like outside of your industry. You start developing a network of people who have the same values or mission into your career and into their career. But also opportunities like this, or conferences, or and listen a lot to podcasts, for example, of successful entrepreneurs or stories like founders or business leaders, which are interesting to get their story as well.
Don't forget, we are always pleased to see our alumni come back to us. We have a very good and excellent careers support for all our students, past and present. But certainly from the MBA, don't forget the BGA. And Suzanne's going to tell you what BGA stands for. That is Suzanne. It's the Business Graduate Association, which is the sort of student arm of AMBA. That they have, again, fantastic services and resources, and we, to be honest, we forget that we, as an AMBA approved school, AMBA accredited school, we have these services that our students can use, and they're good quality, So I think,
That was the sessions we did with Lorraine, right, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
It's like yesterday, where we looked at, as I remember, like your skills, like where would you like to grow into, and then what kind of industries really fit into that, what kind of companies fit into that. And there's a huge network of businesses around the university, which you manage basically. But also there's a great network of people who study at Bradford. And who's also from Bradford University, you have a common connection. You have a common experience. So you could actually reach out, send a DM via LinkedIn and say like, hey, I see we both studied at Bradford, although there's a different year. I would love to pick your brains on working at companies such and such. Can we have a 20 minutes conversation? People are normally, they would answer very positively and say like, sure, we have similar experience, how can I help? Or really, if you ask, people are willing to help you.
So Jack.
Yeah, and Jack now does a great job on managing all the alumni work.
Yes.
And bringing all those people together and giving them access to those people. And that could also be like the people who studied an MBA like 20, 30 years ago, who could be very relevant into your career and who are super willing to help you take the next step. People love to, people love to talk about their own experience, and people love to talk about themselves. But also like to help others if you ask clear questions. So use that opportunity, speak to Jack and ask for some advice on how you could use that alumni network of those 60 years this year, 50 years of Bradford, for your career growth.
First of all, thank you for putting yourself on the spot and sharing your experience. And I have to formally apologize. I stalked your profile here. So can you share how, let's say, your experience with startups and big companies, what the interaction was, where did you learn, and where were the limits for applications, and where did it hinder?
So yeah, so over the last 50 years, I've worked in like half of my career in corporates like Heineken and Facebook, but also half of my career in different technology-driven startups. And after a couple of years at Heineken, the corporate ladder also for me started because exactly after 3 years of brand manager, I moved to senior brand manager, and after 3 years, if I do well, I can get marketing manager, and after 3 years, the marketing manager, they asked me to move to a different company, a different country to become marketing director in Croatia, for example. That for me, that was a bit boring, like of really knowing the end goal. Sometimes it's a mix of. Well, sometimes you feel like it would be super relaxed and know actually where you want to go, where you want to be in your career, where you want to be. But also for me, that was also an element of like, boring. Of like, okay, I know I need to stick here for 3 years and then I move there and stuff. I want to be self-independent and picking where I want to go. So I am from after corporate work at Heineken, I moved to a technology company started in London, back from Amsterdam, where for 2 years I worked there. I got the opportunity to basically build the sales marketing department and the go-to-market strategy, the launch of that new product, and build a team, which all these kind of skills which I knew I wanted to develop and learn. And I got that opportunity at that role, which was super interesting and helpful in my career because that would take me 10 years at Heineken to learn. And this 2 years was amazing experience of working in a technology startup because everything goes way quicker. Everything is way more disruptive. Of like, your role could change every week. Basically, if you feel like you have to move and change your role from what started as head of partnerships, then it was head of growth, and then it was any other title, but still, like you need to do everything to. Well, that was a session we had before to focus on that goal as an entrepreneur and grow your role into everything what is needed to reach that goal. And the move from a corporate to a startup was interesting because you had no resources and help anymore, no large budgets, no manager who actually knew what we were doing, no blueprint of what works well. At Heineken, like if we launch a new flavor, a new product, we've done that so many times over the last 125 years. There's a blueprint of like how do you do this and what works and what doesn't work. The technology startup, which is basically disrupting everything which you could think of, that's completely different. You have to find out everything. You have to do everything yourself as well and build the playing on the fly. Basically, that was for me as a learning experience super interesting.
Presumably, you have to get your own stickers as well.
Yeah, that sticker is the only thing. Need to grow the question.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mart. But I think it's probably a suitable place to call a halt. Very much appreciated. Really entertaining. Thanks, Mark. Much appreciated.